is funding available for an FIC? We've got a bit of an acronym, F, Family Investment Company. You might want to just explain what that definition is and then go on to understanding what lenders are looking for.
Yeah, sure. So, family investment companies are just what they sort of would explain as it's a limited company, but it's been set up in a specific way in the sense of adding on shareholders, family members for succession planning, and allowing that to be passed over to maybe children, etc., in future years. So from our point of view, it's just treated as a limited company, purchase or remortgage. And so what we would need to know is the split of the shareholding and how that has been set up. Now, the best thing you can do is have the conversation with a mortgage broker before you set up the limited company, or have that conversation at the same time as having the conversation with your accountant, or if you're setting that up yourself. But usually, especially in the family investment company side of it, it's usually dictated by an accountant how best to do it. Now, you really need to be speaking to an accountant who is fluent in working with landlords, people who are buying property, people who are investing. And if you've got a specialist tax advisor that is really, really clued up on property side of stuff, they will understand the impact of setting up a limited company in a certain way has on applying for a mortgage. Now, it might be that they advise you the best way to do it is husband and wife go on as directors, and then you've got four children, and they can have 20% each, and then you've got 10% each maybe as the directors for the remaining of the 100% shares, which is great from a tax perspective, I'm sure, as they've advised you to do that. However, from a mortgage perspective, if you've got, children who are under the age of 21, some children we've seen as young as 5 going on as a shareholder of a company, which is great for them when they grow up and to inherit this property and this investment company. However, from a mortgage point of view, when they've got majority shares within a company, it starts to cause issues. So again, very, very generic rule is if there is a shareholder that's got below 20% of shares, they can be ignored. And one thing that the lenders would say is they would then ignore them, especially if they are family members. However, there are so many different rules around this that some lenders want the majority of shares to be held by the directors. So it may be that actually you've got that many children, you've got 6, 7, 8 children. If they've all got even 10% shares each, you can imagine then all of a sudden the majority of the shares are not with the directors. So it is complicated, it can be done. And so it's just about having that conversation. What does it need to look like? How can we find that balancing act? It's not a case of don't put them on there, but put them on there in maybe a slightly different capacity, um, and understanding the implication of that. So yes, you can buy property in a family investment company, but it's about getting that structure right.